So I think people who are from Albuquerque may already recognize you, Jason, because they've seen you on the news, especially with the fire you had last week. And some people around the country may have seen you on that one.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, tell me just a little bit about that and what that fire was.
So it was one of my days off, and I was on my way home and saw a giant header from the other side of town, and turned on my scanner right away, and it was going out as a vehicle fire. And just by looking at it, the only vehicle I could think that made that much smoke was a semi-fire. So I grabbed a shirt right away, jumped in my truck, and headed out there. And it's a pretty long haul for me, and the longer I drove, the blacker the smoke got, and the bigger the smoke plume got. And as they started throwing units at it, and it went to 2 alarms right away, it was a large plastics manufacturing facility. So there was a lot of inventory on site, as well as recycled materials that were there at the facility. So with the winds we had coming, they were sustained, I think, at 20, gusting to 40. The amount of product, it was a big fire that got out of control very quickly. Said it went to 3 alarms on the structure side and 2 alarms on the wildland side. So it was a big fire, and like I said, that was the first time I was getting calls from national news agencies.
And for people who might be new to my channel and aren't familiar with the PIO role, tell us about what that means for you here at Albuquerque.
So I'm a lieutenant here with Albuquerque Fire Rescue, and I'm currently serving as a public information officer. So I deal with everything from media inquiries to large events, fatal fires, multi-alarm fires I try to go to. We deal with press conferences, some of the public relations stuff that we deal with. So I mean, it's anything you can think of or that involves the department or the message that we're trying to get out. I'm usually involved in one way or another.
And then we have somebody else riding in the back here. Some astute viewers may notice. Who do we have back here?
My name is David Rettinger. I'm a paramedic driver for Albuquerque Fire Rescue. I just completed 18 years, but I've been in a support role for just over 5 years now. Initially started as a position to help out our public information officer, and knowing that we wanted to grow that division, they realized that that person needed some help. So I do anything from monthly newsletters, or I do work on annual report, a lot of graphic design stuff, creating content for social media. So working with Lieutenant Fejer to cover some of the fires we get, or even if we just need some help for press conferences. It's really hard to define what I do, but anything that he needs help with, and kind of do some projects for other divisions as well.
I did a little bit of research before I came out here. So Albuquerque has 22 stations, right?
22 fire stations.
And you've got that divided into how many battalions?
4 battalions make up the 22 fire stations.
Okay. And then an engine company at every house.
Yep.
So 22 engines. 22
engine companies. We have 8 ladder companies, 3 squads. So 2 of those are hazmat squads. Squads 1 and 3 are hazmat. Our heavy rescue is squad 2. That's down at station 4. Squad 2, the heavy rescue staffed with 4. The 2 hazmat squads are staffed with 2, a captain and a driver. Then we run 23 medic units, which are spread throughout the city. And then I said the 4 battalions.
So 23 medic units, and I was looking at call stats. It looked like you were right around 109,000 calls in 2022.
Yep, just
so
shy
that's
of
like
109.
300 calls a day for the fire department as a whole.
Correct. That's right about our average. So if you want to talk numbers, so Engine 5, that was our busiest truck in the city last year, just shy of 6,000 calls, 5,900 and some change. So yeah, you're talking between 16 and 17 on average every 24 hours. So that makes for a busy 48-hour shift. Yeah, it's another thing to mention. We do run 4896 here. So all the field crews, we run three shifts. The alarm room runs 4. They're on a 42-hour week, as well as Unit 7-8. That's our paramedic supervisors, also on a 4-shift work week. So there's 4 of them as well.
So at Station 5, those guys are working 4896.
Correct.
Wow. And so I think it's probably a good time to bring up, some people may not realize that their awareness of Albuquerque Fire Rescue potentially came from one of your helmet cam videos. In fact, that's really, I always knew, of course, that Albuquerque had a fire department, of course, but getting into strategy and tactics and just seeing how busy Albuquerque is, really was prompted by the video that I saw of you, where you were the officer on Engine 5, right?
Correct. So yeah, that was our helmet cam program, still in its infancy. We have a few of them out there, but yeah, that was the video I think that kind of helped put us on the map a little bit, and hopefully it helps to grow the page and people's awareness of Albuquerque.
So we're here at Station 9. I feel like there's a lot of important things going on here. Aside from a brand new firehouse with a pretty cool art project, you pointed out a car wash next door. There's significance there, and there's significance across the street. So,
correct.
Yeah, so tell me about Station 9.
So Station 9 is our newest firehouse here in Albuquerque Fire. It's come online within the past year and a half. We run engine, ladder, rescue out of here. And again, it's also our newest ladder company.
And then what do we have across the street?
So across the street is old Station 9, and that has now been converted into our HART program facility. So the Home Engagement Alternative Response Team responds out of there. They respond to in-home patients who've been identified that fall a lot, so people that are fall risk. They have a stroke program. So yeah, a bunch of paramedics that do some home response stuff to try to identify and decrease some of those people that might be high utilizers of 911.
So how do those calls for the HART program get initialized? Do those start at dispatch, or do they really start with your crews who respond to somebody and realize, hey, they might need more help?
Most of them are referred by field crews that identify, or they see those patterns of increased falls, or might be follow-ups after a stroke call. They also got a therapy dog over there. Her name is Wrigley the therapy dog. And so some of those events they do at community centers and some of the nursing homes, they'll take that dog around, and she brings it to the station too. Another thing they do is they visit some of the community centers, and they do classes on how to get up if you do fall. So there's some other things on how to fall and then how to get back up. So they do a bunch of interesting things. It's been a really successful program, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So I think it's going to be around to stay. And then as you mentioned, behind us over here, that's the car wash made famous by Breaking Bad. So that's the car wash that Walt and his wife ended up buying to launder some of their money they were making.
So kind of a touristy destination for the Breaking Bad fans.
Yeah, so Station 9, a lot of times people pull into here thinking they're pulling into the car wash, but yeah, pretty much constantly you'll see people stopping to take pictures of the car wash made famous by Breaking Bad.
And it's a pretty cool art project there too. It sounds like maybe you have a few of those at different stations.
Yeah, all of our newer stations have some sort of art project associated with them. We have the Phoenix here made of car hoods. Station 2 has the rocket. Station 7 has a flaming fire, it's just flaming yucca. So yeah, so they're trying to incorporate some sort of art project, community city art with the new builds.
So what's a 48-hour shift like at some of these busy firehouses? You've experienced it at the busiest.
So it's interesting. There's always training that we got to do, reports we got to write. So when you're running 30 to 40 calls a shift, that generates a lot of reports that got to be documented. Then trying to grab some chow in between the runs and try to get a workout in, train a little bit and keeping the trucks clean. 48 hours goes by very quickly. You got to fight for sleep at some of those stations. On some of those nights, it's just not in the cards, but it was a good place to work. I'd go back there in a heartbeat.
And I've already seen a pretty big contrast in the city. Last night when I got in, there was a reported house fire in 5's First Due that I got to take a look at and kind of experience that First Due area, that neighborhood and that community for myself, which looks like it comes with a lot of challenges. It looks like there's a lot of people who are living on the street. There's obviously a drug addiction problem that I'm sure you all are seeing as well. So how do you manage that from the fire perspective, being that this is a fire-based EMS system? So
like you said, you saw it, there's a huge demand for services in those areas, and it's not just fire, it's EMS as well. We do see a lot more fire in those areas than some other parts of the city, which just kind of comes with the nature of the area. So dealing with it is kind of take it day to day. I hate to say that it starts becoming normal, but it does. And the people that work there, I think all are there for the challenge of it, because it's not, like you mentioned, challenging. It's a very challenging place to work, just because of the nature of some of the calls that we deal with frequently over there. So I can't really say there's a way to deal with it other than relying on the crews that we have there, the other guys on the truck, the people in the station, and not just at Station 5. I think the only way to make it work is to be able to rely on those surrounding districts, the guys in 11s, 12s, 13s, down the road at Threes really have some ownership of their areas, and they try to keep each other out of their districts. So without having crews that were surrounding us, I think it'd be much, much harder. But everyone does a really good job of looking out for each other. So I think the best way to say we deal with it is just teamwork.
All right, so we've been riding around, grabbed some lunch, and now we are on, I'm trying to get my bearings because the mountains are actually east and back home they're west. So that means we are on the far southwest.
Far west.
Far west?
Yeah, there's still quite a bit south of here.
Okay.
It's part of the city. So yeah, we'll just go with far west.
Okay, so where'd you take me to?
So we're at the Albuquerque Fire Academy. This is our training facility. Crews are just finishing up with day 2 suppression refresher. So they're just packing back up. They're gonna get back in service.
Okay. So what kind of training are they doing?
So this is actually our brand new burn building, and this is our first week of getting all the crews cycled through to do some live fire training. So it's got burn rooms downstairs and upstairs, so 2 divisions of burn capabilities, which is different than our existing tower, which only has the burn room on the bottom floor there. So yeah, just getting some crews to see some live fire, working on some stream management stuff, working on some board up tactics, and yeah, so everyone in the city is going to cycle through this day 2 suppression refresher training.
And that's an interesting thing to call it, board up tactics. Tell me more about that.
So we're just looking at, and it's been a big topic of discussion lately, is how we fight board up fires. So one of the things that we got to do is soften these structures up. So that's cutting boards off windows, cutting boards off of doors, making access for search and fire control. So what they're working on here is just simulating a board up window, softening that structure, entering for search, and looking for victims. Another relatively new structure we have is our smoke structure here. So there's no burn rooms in this, but it's compartmentalized. There's interior stairwells, and what we do with this building primarily is practice search, and we can also practice stretching on it. There's a front side and a back side, so we can do some different kinds of evolution. So it just provides some different options for us to train on. We have a simulated garage door cut, forcible entry props, I said interior stairwell, so it just helps with being able to darken up the structure to make it challenging without having to do some of the things we have to do when we're actually doing live burns. So it's kind of a good go-between and a good starting point to teach some of these tactics.
I like it. Yeah, and we were talking about cancer prevention earlier, so I'm sure that plays into this.
Yeah, we're another department. All of our new apparatus are clean cab. We're deconning on scene, and we have a bunker exchange program. So we're swapping out our dirty ones and getting a set of clean ones until the other ones are laundered. We're swapping out flash hoods on scene. So it's all those measures, the little things that we can do to try to at least prevent some of that cancer.
And then I'm seeing a Wildland Type 3 engine over there. It kind of reminds me of home.
So yeah, they just got back from a deployment. Yes, these guys are deployable. They usually keep busy every season doing it. So our Wildland teams, as also as our REM teams. Hey, where'd you guys just get back from? Where are all these guys?
So our REM team just came from the American Mesa Fire, which was up north, just right by Navajo Lake. Brian Fox is coming back from being an incident commander down at Capitan. We had another bunch of guys that were down in the Gila earlier this year. This truck came back from severity in the foothills, and now we're waiting to see, since the Midwest is not doing what it's supposed to, the South is actually letting up, so we might go to like Alabama, Mississippi, or catch the fires.
Deep South, all right.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'll go eat my mosquitoes, but I haven't been to that part of the country yet in one of these.
Yeah,
Yeah, right on.
And this truck is scheduled for replacement, right? Then we got a new one coming in?
Not replacement, but
We got another one, backup, all right.
so we have a different truck coming in. It's going to be slightly bigger, especially for structure protection. This thing can do everything.
Right.
And are your brush trucks Type 5, Type 6?
We have Type 6 brush trucks.
Okay.
Those are bread and butter for what we got here
Sure.
in New Mexico.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you for the info. Of
course.
That was pretty
Yeah.
good. Even on the spot, were you recording?
I was actually. Yeah.
You're like a natural, bro.
And that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you. So Wildland is a specialty. Tech Rescue is a specialty.
Correct.
Hazmat. Am
Yep.
I missing any?
No, it's hazmat, HTR, and the Wildland makes up our special operations.
Okay. So then this path we're walking on now takes us up to, I'm assuming, some classroom spaces?
Yep. So this is our fire academy, the auditorium, classroom spaces. We have a fire museum over here, and then
Oh, really?
administration's right here. We'll walk into the museum, and then we'll walk around.
Yeah, you've piqued my inner fire geekdom with saying there's a museum here.
Yeah, we got some cool things in here.
Oh, it's shady.
Yeah, it feels better over here.
Yeah, the YouTube audience doesn't have temperature vision.
No, and you're lucky you're here now. 2 weeks ago it was brutal. We were over 100 degrees here.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a nice like 96, right? 92. It's only 92.
No, that's
nothing.
That's easy. So yeah, here you go.
Oh. Wow. Oh. This is a sweet setup.
So this is, our retirees have done a lot of work to get this to where it is. The equipment, some of the displays we have here, equipment, the pole, all the plaques for the fire classes on the wall over here. So yeah, it's a cool space. This is, I'm a member of the 73rd Cadet class. It's me right there. So every cadet class presents the Fire Academy and Fire Chief with a gift. And this was ours.
That's a good one. How did you collectively come up with this? Do you remember?
No, somebody had it, and so we just had it built, and I'm the one that polished it up and had the display made for it, and here it sits.
Looks great.
All right, up we go. I don't know who's in or who's not.
Ooh, I like this quote on the wall.
That's right. This is one of our newer additions to the Albuquerque Fire Rescue Academy, is our multimedia studio, if you want to take a look.
Let's do it.
So here's our green room. We've been doing a lot of podcast training. COVID kind of necessitated some of the change in how we delivered content to the field crews and our ability to stream things. So we can have people waiting in here while they're shooting a podcast in here. This is the heart of the operation through here. While our soundboard is the ability to edit things. And then here's the actual studio that was built out.
This is an impressive setup.
So yeah, driver Kyle O'Hay has kind of been the one that really spearheaded most of this and got it functional, and said we use it all the time. It's actually hard to get a slot to get in here to actually film something. We're so busy with podcasts and some of the other things that they're doing.
What's some of like the subject matter? What are the things that you do? Is it like a normal rotating podcast theme, or what? How does that work?
The biggest thing we've been doing lately in here is case studies. So trends or specific cases they're seeing in the field, specifically on the EMS side.
Okay.
They'll come in here, talk about it. The providers on scene, sometimes our medical director, our EMS chief, Chris Ortiz, they'll get them in here, and they can talk about the specifics and set some of the trends that they're seeing. So hopefully eventually we can take some of that quality assurance we're using on the EMS side and apply it to fire as well. So that's the hopes for the future, is that we can start incorporating some of that for this as well.
And do you include all of these podcasts on your public-facing YouTube channel, or some but not others?
The majority of them are available on YouTube for anybody to see. There is some stuff that we film in here that's internal, whether there's some of the chief's notes or training we got to get out internally.
Yeah.
We can release that internally as well. But most of what we do in here is available on YouTube.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to include that link then, so that people watching this can check out the Albuquerque
come
Fire
check it
Rescue
out.
YouTube channel, because this setup I'm drooling over just a little bit. You know, this YouTube channel that I've created is really just kind of focusing on all the different fire departments I can ride along with, to see their challenges, see their culture, learn about all the ways we're all doing things, because I think that all of our fire departments can learn from each other, learn different ways to do things. But one of the things that I've noticed, at least social media wise, as a PIO, right, it's always hard to talk about the personal toll that some of these incidents and some of these busier fire stations take. And I'm curious, since this is the busiest fire department that I've now experienced that works a 48-hour shift, how do you think the 48s and sleep recovery tie in with compassion fatigue for some of those calls and some of the things that you're seeing on a regular basis? I don't know if you can tell me from maybe even your own personal experience what that's like.
Compassion fatigue is real, and I've said this before. It takes some deliberate decision making and processes to stay at houses like that, and it does wear on us. And I think that there is a time, I think everyone's got a shelf life, and there is a time to leave some of those areas, because there is some long-term tolls that, like I said, that the things that we see that become normal, and the sleep deprivation is not I think seen right away, it takes a while for some of those things to reveal themselves, even stepping away from some of those stations to realize that it was time to leave. But I think we have a pretty active mental health awareness program here in the department. I think guys know that they can ask for help, but it does take a toll. And man, I don't know. Like I said, I bid back there for a fourth year, and after getting into this position, it kind of made me realize it probably was time to step away from that and have a change of scenery. But on the flip side of that, the people that work in those districts, a lot of them stay, and a lot of them stay for a long time. Some of our busiest houses are not the easiest ones to bid to. We have a seniority-based bid, and some of the more senior guys stay at the busiest places. So there's two sides of the coin. So like I said, some people seem to be able to tolerate it very long and don't have issues with it, and other people it eats up right away. So I think it's very situational, dependent on how long people can stay at some of those houses.
You've been on the department how long?
Just finished 16 years.
So in your 16 years, what do you think your favorite house was that you worked at?
I've only been at multiple, so I've been at Station 5, 13, and 4s. And of all those, probably 13s is still the place that I feel like is most of those the one that I call home.
And we've been talking a lot about Station 5. We're actually rolling up to Station 13 right now.
Correct.
But Station 13 is one of the busiest as well.
Correct. So yeah, Engine 13 is usually right behind Engine 5. They're a 5,000 a year call engine. The rescue is also a very busy rescue, and the ladder's kind of right in the middle of the pack as far as our ladder companies go. But they generally fall right there behind ladder 5 and ladder 9. Ladder 13's heading out right now. So it's a very, very busy house. So this is the alarm room, as we refer to it as. It's our dispatch center. So last year they processed and dispatched 109,000 calls for Albuquerque, but they also dispatched for Albuquerque Ambulance and Community Safety, so they processed upwards of 140,000 calls.
And what's the difference between Albuquerque Ambulance and then the rescues that Albuquerque Fire runs?
So ambulance is the private ambulance service. So we run together on some calls, we run separately on some calls, and they also run without us on some calls. So it's things that they've identified over years looking at data on which ones we should go on and the most efficient way to respond.
And then what are the community service folks responding on?
So they're community service. It's a new program. They're actually getting ready to go 24/7 now. And they kind of go on those calls that might not require a medical component yet, or it's unsure, so they'll go and verify. A lot of times it's homeless encampments, that kind of thing, and they can go talk to them. They can also provide them with services. So It might not be an ambulance in the hospital that they need. It might need housing or some sort of vouchers for travel, so that kind of thing, not just emergency medicine.
Nice. And then what's the minimum staffing up here?
So staffing, there's 4 shifts. 7 is the minimum number, and 8 is maximum. 4 shifts, they work 42-hour weeks. So it's 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 5 days off. There's also 2 lieutenants that do training and quality assurance, and there's also a captain that oversees the whole division.
And then one of the really important things I think that goes on for City of Albuquerque is that you guys have medical priority dispatch system, and in a system so full of EMS, I think that's really important. So that all starts here, right?
Yeah. So everything's it's coded with medical dispatch, and we send units according to priority. So yes, some units get an engine only, ladder only, maybe a squad, and then the higher acuity calls, they're going to get you a rescue and some sort of suppression unit.
And then I've seen like rescues respond to some calls solo. Mm-hmm. What are those?
So Charlie level calls and some Bravo level calls will get a rescue only. Anything that's a Delta is going to get you 2 units, and if it's an Echo, Unit 7-8 or our paramedic supervisor is going to go as well.
And then I've also heard you guys are using the priority dispatch for fire calls. Not a lot of fire departments, at least that I listen to, are using that and airing it over the radio. Mm-hmm. Have you found some benefit in that for those determinant codes? You know, like on a structure fire, it could be a Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, even an Echo level structure fire. Does that put a different mindset in your thought process as an officer?
Yeah, so we don't see a lot of it. A lot of times the determinant codes are going to get you a full dispatch anyway, but like a 69 Charlie, we do have them. It's usually a contained appliance fire. So yeah, so even though it'll pop on pulse point, when you see 2 units on it, an engine, a ladder, you know it's going to be pretty much an appliance fire. And we might turn on our radios, or those surrounding districts might, just to see if they call for a balance. But yeah, it helps, and it reduces some of the call volume for some of those surrounding districts, and also kind of keeps some of that heightened sense of a structure fire going out, kind of keeps that at bay until people actually see what's going out. So yeah, it does.
And then I think what might be different here than a lot of places, these are actually sworn firefighters and promoted, right? They're drivers to work here?
Correct. So everybody up here said is a sworn firefighter. They promoted through the ranks, so if you can get to the rank of driver, the alarm room is an option. So it's staffed with drivers, and then there's also a lieutenant on shift. So drivers, everyone's at the minimum rank of driver, and then there's a lieutenant as well.
Nice. Some people might ask why that promotion level needs to be there. Is that for like knowledge of the city, tenure on the job?
Well, it ensures a few things, and so all of our support divisions, you have to be the rank of driver in order to qualify for them. And as you said, that kind of dictates you have some time on the job and a little bit of experience behind you before going into a support division. So that's all that really the rank of driver ensures. It's a tough assignment, and it's not easy work. And as you know, it's a hard job. And in the past, we have had to force some people into this assignment when vacancies occurred, and lately that hasn't been the case. There's the schedule, the benefits of being on a 42-hour week, and the 5 days off have attracted enough people that often the times there's interviews for it, and that it's generated enough interest, so we haven't had to force people in a long time.
Yeah, I think I've noticed in a lot of the other, and there's not a ton of dispatch centers for fire that work 24-hour shifts, but the ones that do, they do cite that personal life time off as one of the main reasons. Do the dispatchers up here have time away from the board? Are they allowed to sleep? How does that work?
Yeah, so every shift comes on, said it's a 24-hour shift. They do have dedicated breaks throughout the day, and then at night that's usually an up or a down rotation, so you're on the phones, you're off, and so that ensures a little bit of rest for those dispatchers not at the console, but they're also in the building available in case something big pops off, a second alarm, or it just is busy enough that we need to pull everybody back to the floor. Everybody's here and available, so there is that rest time built in, but it's not guaranteed.
And speaking from personal experience, I know dispatch did wonders for me in understanding how the whole fire department works. Did you kind of get that same experience here?
Oh, 100%. And the things you learn here in dispatch, I didn't even realize how important they were until becoming a company officer. So yeah, just knowing codes, run strings, how many units are coming on an assignment is huge. And then even just being able to navigate the CAD, being able to look up APD events and knowing what the police side of things are doing, if police is en route, do I need to call for them? Do they already have the call? There's a lot to learn up here. It's super, super valuable time, more so than I realized when I was here.
All right, so we're inside Station 4. This is where Squad 2 is stationed. This is the heavy technical rescue.
Yep,
unit.
so 4 is now actually our HDR house, so everyone here has some sort of HDR training. So the 4 people that ride the heavy rescue are all heavy rescue techs. Generally the engine is as well. The rescue's here as well, and then we also run the airboat. So this is just another one of our special ops station.
Do they only respond on technical rescue calls?
So it's a citywide truck, so any sort of extended extrication, commercial structure fire, they're automatic to respond on, and a lot of times what they go on is recoveries. It's also a regional response truck, so they will respond out of the city limits to go to things like trench rescues, some high-angle rescues, they'll go into the foothills.
And then Battalion 1 is based out of here?
And Battalion 1, so yes, this is a headquarters as well. So Battalion 1 is actually our busiest battalion in the city.
Okay.
And just the amount of stations that they cover. Some of our busier stations are up on the east central kind of corridor, but Battalion 1 still catches more fires than anybody else.
Nice. When it comes to the water rescue component, I've heard a little bit about that already with the arroyos flooding.
Yep.
Where do you get the most use out of this boat?
So we got a lot of action out of this boat this year with the record winter that we had and the runoff that we did. Generated a ton of calls for river rescues. So us and Bernalillo County both have boats, and so does Albuquerque Police. So kind of in joint efforts, we can get this boat launched. They can launch theirs, APD as well, and numerous rescues were made out on the water this year on the Rio Grande. So another thing that we're able to do with this boat, though, actively is patrol. So some of those hot spots where people get in or out of the water, if they miss them, a lot of times it's just a little bit of proactive in letting them know where they need to get out so they don't miss that spot and end up downriver somewhere. So yeah, we had a lot of patrols. We were on the water several days a week during that high runoff, which is we finally starting seeing some of those levels taper off. So it's kind of quieted down for this boat, but this thing got some uses this summer.
And then what tows the boat?
So this is just another truck that we carry a little boat on. So we generally we'll tow this with another vehicle, whether it's the HTR1, who is our heavy technical rescue coordinator, will tow it, or we have some other vehicles that can tow this boat. The truck that I'm currently in might get moved over to start towing this boat. It's a 4-wheel drive, has a V8, so it'll be a good tow vehicle for this.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for having me today. Thanks for showing me around the city.
Thanks for riding along.